So I will show you how to do a binding with the base, the lining from your rug. It depends on the size that you want. This is a 1/4 inch. Let's see if I can go up. I've used a 1/4 inch. You can go a little bit smaller than that. So I've added the tape because tape is, let's see if I can get this in video. The tape has a straight edge for one reason. With this rug I have a lining and it's made on black wool. So I would have cut the wool first. I would have put the tape on and cut the wool. And with this rug it's a little bit out. You need that to do your binding. So just remember, if you're cutting, if you have a rug on a piece of wool, you do not cut close to the pennies. You need a space for your binding. And that's with any backing. If you're going to put a binding on, remember you need that space. So with this one I'm doing a 1/4 inch, so a 1/4 inch is here and then another 1/4 inch is folded in and then it's stitched, so I need a 1/2 inch. So I've cut my tape a 1/2 inch and it's just a matter of taking the tape off. Then let's see if I can get close. Then I fold and fold. Put some pins in. It's not necessary to iron it. For the fold, you can just go in and do it. Do it by eye. It is a good idea because you have your fabric, pin your fabric so that when you're pulling up, it doesn't cause a problem. And I would just go along and pin this. And do remember, when you're doing a rug, so nice not to have, I have dull stick pins. When you're doing a rug, like a penny rug, when you're cutting your fabric this way, it's not on the straight of the grain, so it does give a little. So you really, this way it's fine, this way you just have to ease it in a little bit. And I have done the corner here. I will show you how to do that. It's very simple. You fold it over. I have a bad spot in my material there. Fold it down to do the next side, and it's not going to be a good one, but because of the fabric, but that's how you do it. It's very simple. And it's very easy with thin cotton. It's not as easy if the back of the lining is thick or you're using a lightweight wool or something like that. Anytime you have more folds, as in a corner with a miter, you get lumps. So that is how you do the rug with using the lining. If you are doing a rug and you want to use your small seam binding, you want a different color, whatever width your seam binding is going to be, this is actually a little bit more than a quarter. That's the amount that you would cut from your rug. We'll say it's a 1/4 inch. If you're using a 1/2 inch seam binding, you would a 1/2 inch, as in the Ned and Jake, you would measure a 1/2 inch. Whatever your finished amount is, maybe I'll go over here, whatever size you want your binding is the width that you would cut outside your rug. Do a little bit extra because you can always cut it off. So if I was measuring this and it was a 1/4 inch, I just measure past the 1/4 inch. You can always trim that off later. You don't want it to be too small. Also, when you're doing your rug and you have it cut, make sure when you're putting your binding on that you have your rug and the binding together. And when you're doing a penny rug, this fold goes next to the pennies, like that. You can see. So the very last thing, I believe, is how to join your edges. Once you are doing a penny rug and you get to the point where you need to connect your two pieces like this, if it's a very thin fabric, you're fine. I wonder if I can, how do I put this to the camera? There. All you would do is you leave extra because you're going to stitch these two pieces together, so you need to bring it up and stitch it. So you leave extra, but you make sure that you have the right size. So I just pin there, and I would pin there on that side, just to know that I have a good fit. So the last part with the bindings is how to do these. Once you have your binding all around, how to connect them. Either the straight up and down stitch, and this one was wrong, but I've told you the parts that were wrong in it. Or if you have a heavy binding, you will need to do an angle. And there again, these stitches are showing and they shouldn't be, so you need to be very careful to really do some back stitches or keep stitching back and forth with the running stitch so that you have a good solid tight seam there. So if you're doing this one with the thin cotton and you're just doing it, butting the two together, it's really very simple. This is you start a ways, leave extra. Always start on a not on a corner, just a straight piece. You always leave extra. And when you're finished, you stop stitching and leave extra in order to connect the two. Basically what you're doing is you're putting your two together so that once this is stitched, you can do a straight seam along here and then turn and fold. So you make sure that you have a good fit. Do a couple stitches, couple pins, sorry, so that I know it will fit. Then I just fold it back even. Fold it back even so the two are meeting, and I just use my nail and do. You can use the iron, but then you would need to iron on your wool, so I don't do that. I remove the pins, bring it up. That's why you need that. You haven't stitched this, that's why you need that extra. And it's just a matter of putting those two folds together as close as you can. Sometimes it's a little tricky. That looks good. Flip it over. Make sure to keep your position. Put a pen in, and then you stitch on this line. And I won't do that, but if you're doing a running stitch, do it a few times. Make it a very secure seam there so it doesn't pull out. Then I would cut and bring it down, open the seam where I cut, and stitch. Very simple. Very much like this one that I did wrong. Remember to, if you're using the thin cotton, to have a bit extra there that's fraying, and to make sure that you have a very secure stitches, that they're not pulling out like this one. You see that? And really that's it. Then you fold it over. Seams on both sides. Do it with your fingernail. Fold over. And that's ready to stitch, and your rug is finished. If you're doing a heavy fabric and you're doing the angle, that's a bit more difficult to do, and that's why I almost never do that. I will show you a bit how to do it, but there are many videos on YouTube that are much better than I can show you, so I'll just give you the general idea. You're trying to eliminate bulk, so you're folding on an angle so that when your fabric is folded up, the bulk is distributed. Okay, can I see there? The bulk is distributed along an angle line, and it's not all in one place. So to do that, you would fold this way. You would have your other fabric, and you would do the same thing so that you have an angle. So basically, it looks like, let's see, it looks like your fabric is going this way, and then all of a sudden it's going straight up and down. That's what you are trying to do. And these two lines are stitched. So you would bring it up, match your two lines, and stitch. And there is a way to do that. You just don't butt your two fabrics, because you're going to have a problem with the edge. And there are many, as I say, many videos on YouTube that show you how to do that, but you only need to do that with heavy fabrics. So I wouldn't worry about it if you're using thin fabrics. And there is one more thing I would like to show you, and I will do that in the next video. In part of the video I showed you how to fold your binding. Folded it in 4, and of course this is your stitching line. It's probably a good idea to do that if you're new to putting binding on rugs. It gives you a straight line, and it gives you all of your folds for you. Everything is worked out, but I don't do that. I just use a straight piece. I just take my straight piece and I use some stick pins and put it to the edge. And remember, the size of your binding is multiplied by 4 and just a tiny bit extra for the bulk. So I just go by eye and do a straight line with my running stitch. I don't have a fold to go by, but I can do a straight line. Then, once I have that done, I will perhaps tidy up my edge. If not, well, that's okay. And then I just fold it over. Move my needle around. I fold it over, fold it down, and pin it. And those are the bindings that I have on my rugs. I don't fold the bindings. I just cut times 4 plus just a tiny bit extra for whatever size I want the binding. And I just go along and stitch it. There, so I would just go along and stitch that. It doesn't need to be folded. See if I can get that up to the camera. So I just want to recap a couple things. The different ways to finish the edge on your binding if you are doing an straight strips. You finish the edge, fold it under, stitch it. If you are doing one long piece, then you would do very much the same as I've done with this rug. Anytime you can round off, especially when it's a thick wool, anytime when you can round off your corners, it's easier to do. I could have rounded this off, but for demonstration purposes I wanted to show a miter. When you're doing a binding on a penny rug, your binding comes close to the edge, usually. This one's not close. That needs to have some more stitches in it. That one's close. And of course you need to join it. There's my, you need to join it, and I've shown you how to do that. Do remember when you have your penny rug and you cut to put your binding on that you measure from a penny. This is the size of your finished binding. Just add a tad bit more just to be safe, because you don't want it too small. You can always remove some of the fabric, but you cannot add to it. And I think that's it, really. With the Ned and Jake, do it this way. I will complete this, but I've chosen to use a print that's from an old quilt. It's faded and it's very worn. You don't want this. So with Ned and Jake, as you see, I've used burlap, but I've gone in and I've stitched around to hold the burlap to Ned and Jake. It's a good idea to do that in some places. You really don't have to do everything, but it's a good idea to do the star so your star doesn't puff up. Running stitches. Anytime you have a large rug, it's basting stitches, sorry. Anytime you have a large rug, it's probably easier to baste than to have to work with stick pins. They get caught and they fall out. This is a larger binding than the original Ned and Jake. I like the small binding, but I did this to demonstrate the difference. So, let's see. You can see the two together. I really like the small binding. And I think that's it. If you have any questions, definitely email me. I'd be glad to answer them. And I hope you enjoyed the video.